Hey everyone, Chris here, the RC Geek. I wanted to give you guys my full flight review on the VQ Warbirds Bonanza Vtail. This is a really nice looking ARF airframe, and once assembled, you really are greeted with a beautiful flyer. So I've got a Power 52 E-Flight motor in here, a 6-cell 5000 Spectrum Smart battery, and Master Air Screw 12/8 prop. And this power system is just like a perfect match for the airplane. It's fast, it's got great vertical, and so it's a really excellent match. Now, it did take a few flights to get tuned in, but now that I've got it all tuned, man, I'm really loving how the airplane flies. Now, there are a couple things to talk about here, though. So the first things first, we'll talk about the CG. My CG fell out at 115 millimeters as measured from the wing root leading edge aft, and I'd recommend starting there. The manual recommends something quite a bit further back than that, and I found that to feel tail heavy in the air, so I definitely recommend putting it a little bit forward. Now, in terms of the controls, first of all, the elevator, it does want to carry a little bit of down for trim, and that tells me that they probably didn't quite get the tail incidence right, but once you have that tuned in and working, no problems whatsoever. But the other thing is that I found that the airplane did want to climb quite a bit at full throttle, and so you can add a little bit extra down thrust, but ultimately what I ended up doing is I added a throttle to elevator mix that mixes down elevator with throttle, and that's about an 11% mix that I have here. It's a pretty small amount of physical deflection. Now, moving on to the actual deflections themselves. For elevator, running 8 millimeters up and down with 5% expo, and again I've got that 11% down elevator mix with the throttle. Now, for the ailerons, 9 millimeters up and down with 15% expo. For the rudder, 9 millimeters left to right with 25% expo. And then for the flaps, I'm at 15 millimeters mid and 30 millimeters at full flap. And there's no elevator mix required with the flaps at all. I found that it didn't need anything of the sort. Now, in terms of how the airplane flies, guys, I'm thoroughly impressed with how this airplane performs. What really struck me about it, you've got the Vtail here, but the airplane just performs maneuvers effortlessly. It flies straight as an arrow, and so whether it's point rolls, Cuban 8s, or just lazy 8s and Shondells, more prototypical maneuvers, the airplane does them easily and tracks extremely true through the process. And so I even found if I could get just a touch more rudder throw from it, I think the airplane would actually do a true legitimate knife edge as well. I was playing with that quite a bit, and I do think it'll do it quite easily, in fact. So one final thing I wanted to mention was related to the gear doors. Now, I do have the Robart electric Retracts in here, and they work fantastically. I really like the quality of those Robarts. If you saw my first flights video, my gear doors actually popped off on one side. It made my first landing pretty interesting. But ultimately, I ended up rebuilding those gear doors out of fiberglass sheet. What ended up happening, what I discovered, is that the flat push rod and servo arm could actually interfere with the gear door when they are in transition. That's something to be aware of. If you discover that, you'll definitely want to fix that before you fly the airplane. And I didn't actually realize that until I flew it. When I was rebuilding the gear doors, that's when I actually discovered that's what was happening. All right, let's take this out to the field, give you guys a flight on the airplane, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap this up. Alright guys, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. This is the VQ Warbirds Beechcraft Bonanza Vtail. You know, I really love the looks of the airplane, and the performance is really fantastic. It's been a lot of fun to have in the hangar. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys found this review helpful. I have my full assembly review available. I've got a link in the corner if you guys want to see that, as well as my first flights videos. And so, don't forget to follow along on social media at the RC Geek, subscribe, and until next time, I'll see you at the field.